This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by Financially Fit Business. Get the business tool that turns your financial statements into impactful graphs that help you see your business trends to make sure you're not headed for a cash flow, profitability, or productivity issue. Go to www.financiallyfit.business and get started today. Thank you for joining us. Here's how we will help your business and you. In the last podcast, I explained why profitable cash flow is critical, as well as the first few cash flow management procedures that you should put in place to protect your hard-earned cash. I finished the series in this podcast. So let's get started. Okay. Last time we talked about reviewing your bank accounts online every day, knowing your numbers every single week through a weekly cash flow report, collecting deposits before work begins, invoicing immediately, not 2 weeks later, and follow up relentlessly, and make it easy for customers to pay you with a payment button on your website, and tightening up your receivables process. All right, so the next one, number 7, is to take vendor discounts for paying within 10 days. This is a mathematical formula, but it is probably one of the best uses of your money because of the amount that you actually save. When vendors offer those early payment discounts, paying them within 10 days for a 1 to 2% discount is one of the smartest business moves that you can make. Yeah, it strengthens your vendor relations. And remember the story I told in the last podcast where they always took their vendor discounts. They're always looking at cash, but when they actually grew to the point where they were a $2 million contractor and the growth stopped, there were times that they couldn't take their vendor discounts because they didn't have the cash flow to be able to do it. So make sure, obviously, that you have the cash flow to be able to take that 1 to 2%. But there are times that 1 to 2% adds up to a lot of money. Think about how much you actually spend with your suppliers and take 1% of that or take 2% of that and see how much money that actually is. It's a lot of money. It can also strengthen your vendor relationships and, builds your, hey, these guys are cash flow worthy. Very good. That goes a long way with vendor relationships rather than, oh my gosh, they don't pay for 90 days, that type of thing. They know who pays them. Your vendors know who pays them. And then the goodwill really does pay dividends. If you get into a jam where, not that I ever want this to happen to you, but we've had GCs go bankrupt on contractors, leaving them holding the bag for, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that kills your cash flow. But if you've always done payments on time and you've taken your discounts, and you can call them on the phone and say, hey, this is what happened. I'm going to need a little bit of time to pay this invoice. And most of the time they will say yes. They don't, you've been a good client and a good customer for them. So number 8 is to create a cash reserve. Right? This is like saving 1% or 2% of every dollar that comes in the door. Think about it this way. If you have a check for $1,000, that's $10 is 1%. You can operate on $9,990. $10 goes into your $990, excuse me. That $10 goes into your savings account. And $10 might not seem like a lot, but it's actually builds up over time and builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. I always ask for my clients to build a reserve fund. I have a reserve fund. I make my daughter have a reserve fund. So the thing that you want to do is make sure that you're in a situation where you consistently add the 1% or the 2% or whatever it is to your savings account every single week. So last podcast, we talked about the weekly cash flow report. And so you know how much came in that week. You know that you can transfer 1% of that amount every single week into your savings account. You don't have to do it with everything, every single day or something like that. Once a week is fine. but you need the discipline to be able to do it once a week. All right. And the other thing to remember is to actually do it, because if you forget to do it for 2 or 3 weeks, the numbers start adding up. And like, do I really want to put that in my savings account? Stuff like that. However, do it every week, and if you need the discipline in the beginning, do it every day if you need to do it every day. All right. Just make sure that you continue to do it. You never know when Murphy comes and bites you and absolutely need that money to solve a cash flow crisis of some way, shape, or form. For those of you who have maintenance plans that are residential, all of that money until you actually do the work should go in your savings account. The other thing is this particular savings account should be linked to your operations account, so it's very easy to make the transfer. You don't have to go to another bank or anything else along this line. It's, less than a minute to make the transfer. Very, very easy to do that. All right, number 9 is to separate business and personal finances completely. And this is really critical if you're going to be selling your business at some point in time. Your potential buyers want to see clean financials. They do not want to see personal expenses mixed in with your business expenses. The two have to be totally separate. All right. Many, many years ago, I had a client when I started working with him. He was paying his nanny out of his business. I made him take a raise and pay his nanny where his nanny should have been paid. Okay. Those are the types of things that you want to make sure that it is clean. It is very clear that there are no personal expenses in the business expenses, so that a potential buyer can see the true profitability of the company, not because you wanted to pay less taxes or something like that, because it makes due diligence that much harder. That's about all I can definitely say about it. Just do it. The number 10 is to review and cut unnecessary expenses every quarter. Yeah, it's amazing how many subscriptions we get and we stop using it and we forget to stop the subscription. Software is the worst of it because it really and truly does. We forget. We actually forget. It's $19.95 a month or 20 some odd dollars a month or something like that. And it's like goes through your credit cards and you just don't see them. There's the ad that, what is it? Quicken Loans or one of them has now, how many monthly recurring revenue things do you have or recurring charges you have? And nobody seems to know. And they have a way to be able to stop those particular recurring credit card charges. So make sure that if you're going to not use a software package anymore, just cut it out. Okay. When we get back, we'll cover the last of the cash management techniques. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense.
Imagine you had total freedom. You didn't have to worry about money. You didn't have to be a slave to your business. The words, "I can't," are eliminated from your vocabulary. What if you could do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it? A financially fit business could give you that freedom. How? By knowing what your financial statements are telling you and taking action based on what they say. You can do this in less than 10 minutes a month at an investment of less than taking your family out to dinner once a month. And if your financial statements are a mess, you can get help. Go to www.financiallyfit.business or click on the QR code below to get started today.
Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. Before the break, I gave you several of the cash management techniques, and I'm going to finish them in this segment. So one of the things that I really and truly look at is managing inventory levels. Inventory is a bet. I've said inventory is a bet for years and years and years and years. Know what's coming into your shops. Know what's going out of your shops. Some of you don't put inventory on the balance sheet, and that's a discussion for another podcast. However, you make sure that you track inventory and you make sure that you are accounting for inventory. The last thing you want to have happen is you have $200,000 on your balance sheet for inventory and you counted it at the end of the year and you only have 100,000, that means you lost $100,000 in profit because that 100,000 in inventory went somewhere. It just didn't get billed to customers. It got lost. It got damaged. And sometimes, unfortunately, it also gets stolen. Track your inventory. And it's not only cash that gets stolen, copper gets stolen. All the metals get stolen. They're getting very expensive and people are, unfortunately, less than ethical or they need money. And this is the easiest way for them to do it is to take copper or some other metal or some other inventory. I've even had a person who would take 2 motors when he needed one or 2 capacitors when he needed one, but basically started his company with the inventory of his former boss, which is totally unethical in my book. So please, 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 please manage your inventory levels. Look at your inventory. Make sure you're tracking it. Barcoding has become so easy and so simple these days. It's really easy to use. It coordinates and goes right into QuickBooks or whatever accounting software that you're using. Just pay attention to inventory. Number 12 is to plan ahead for seasonal fluctuations. Oh my gosh. Do we have seasonality in our industry? And this is another reason why you want to make sure you're saving that 1 or 2% because things do slow down. Unfortunately, the rent doesn't slow down. The light bill doesn't slow down. People still want to get paid. And you may need to take some money out of savings to cover those slower times. Just make sure you put the money back in the busier times. So, for example, instead of, and I have clients who do this, their savings accounts are high enough so that they actually can write a check for a truck out of the savings account rather than paying interest at the bank. But what they do is, let's assume that they wrote a check for $50,000 for that truck. Whatever the bank payment to the bank would have been, they transferred that money back into the savings account to pay for that particular truck. So it's not like they took the money out and didn't put the money back in. They actually do it as if they were going to the bank and making a payment, which totally makes sense to do. Number 13 is to establish a business line of credit before you need it. If you're going to go for a business line of credit, don't do it in the slow time when you need it. Do it in the very, very busy time when everything's looking good, profits are looking great. And then in the slower times, you'll have it when you need it. And we don't normally think about this in the busier times, but if you really think that you need a line of credit and you don't have enough cash in your savings account to be your own personal line of credit, make sure that you actually do it when you are in a situation where you are busy and you have great cash flow and your profitability is really, really good. Number 14 is to make sure that you are pricing right and review your pricing regularly. One of the things that I see with Financially Fit Business in the graphs that we do is the spread between the gross revenue trending line and the gross profit trending line. And those two lines should be parallel. When I start seeing them start to spread apart, I know generally one of 3 things is happening. Number 1, suppliers have increased their prices and you haven't increased yours. Number 2, productivity is going down. A job that was supposed to take, jobs that are supposed to take 16 hours take 20, or jobs that were supposed to take 100 hours take 150, things like that. Or you have a new crop of people where the older people have retired, and as a result, it's taking longer to do things than it used to do, quote unquote, in the old days, so to speak. So, look at your pricing. Your graphs every month will actually tell you what's going on with your business to make sure that you're there. And also, remember the way that we generate revenue in our industry is through billable hours. No billable hours, no service, no maintenance, no replacement. So you need to know for every billable hour how much actually drops to the bottom line. And if you're not pricing enough to at least have a positive bottom line, you have to look at pricing and raise your pricing. It's not the cash that you have in your checking account. And last but not least, which really flows into this, is to turn financial data into actionable items. And I just gave you one. The spread between gross revenue or, revenue and gross profit is increasing. You want those parallel. You want your gross margin graphs being, consistent. If it starts going down, there should be a warning sign. If your productivity graphs start going up, which is the counterintuitive graph, you're spending more for every dollar. You're spending more on payroll for every dollar that you bring in the door. Why? I mean, what's going on here? So these are the graphs that you should review every single month as you get your financial statements. And it takes like no time to do this. If you're on QuickBooks Online, you put the dates in, the graphs come up. It is that easy. AI reads them, figures out where you are, or if you need help, we can give you help from there. Okay, that's it. Those are the very easy 15 things that you should look at from a cash flow basis. So let me review them one last time. Number 1, review your bank accounts online every day. Number 2, know your numbers, get a weekly cash flow report. Number 3, COD or collect deposits before work begins. Number 4, let me find it, is to invoice immediately and follow up. Don't send out invoices 2 weeks or a month after the work is done. Number 5, put a button on your website to make it easier for customers to pay you. Number 6, know your receivables process and make it tight. Number 7 is to take your vendor discounts for paying within 10 days. Number 8, have your rainy day fund save 1% to 2% of every dollar that comes in the door. Number 9 is to separate your business and personal finances completely. Number 10 is to review those software, recurring revenue things and making sure that if you're not using anymore, that you don't use it. Number 11 is to manage inventory levels strategically. Number 12 is to plan ahead for seasonal fluctuations, i.e. seasonality. You may need to take some of the dollars that are outside of your savings account or to be able to pay your operations sometimes. Number 13, establish your business line of credit before you need it. Do it in the busy seasons. Number 14 is to price strategically and make sure that you're happy with your net profit per hour. Review the pricing, review the job costing, review net profit per hour very regularly. Monthly would be good. And number 15 is to make sure that you take your financial statements every single month and turn them into actionable graphs so that you can see what's going on with your business. That's it. Not hard to do, not long to do. Choose the ones you want to do. Well, even the ones that you may not want to do, but really should do, and implement them in your business. So thank you for joining us. Choose the one thing you discovered and implement it in your business. These ideas, tactics, and strategies help you make more money, have more free time, and give back. If you like today's program, spread the word. Please review this podcast on any device you're listening to it on. Help a fellow contractor make more money too. For comments or questions, call me at 770-729-0258 or email Ruth King at hvacchannel.tv. Thanks for listening. Have a great and profitable